Yes, I'm from Warwickshire, and it's a great pleasure to be here. I'm a bit surprised to be here, actually, because when Julia contacted me, she said, I want you to talk about best company practice. And I had no idea that what we did was actually best company practice. But I'll take her word for it, and what I'll try and do today is I'll tell you what we do, and then you can be the judge at the end, and maybe you can pick up some helpful hints or something from me that will help you to do some of the stuff that we do. There's one other very important thing on this first slide. I'm actually an ex-student apprentice, and that is probably the most important thing I have done to be a reasonably successful engineer. And I'm very, very pleased I did that, and I'll take that back to every young person that I talk to. So, first of all, just to give a bit of background, I work for Aston Martin, to give you some context of who Aston Martin are and what they do in terms of sizing the company. We make sports cars, high luxury sports cars. We employ 1,600 people. We've grown since 2001 from 800 people, and we make about 4,000 cars each year. We have 4 initiatives that are listed here: working with schools, manufacturing apprentices, product development apprentices, and a graduate scheme. And as I go through telling you what we do today, you'll see that graduate scheme is very important because it links back through to the others. So if you bear with me as I talk through that, you'll see examples of that. So why bother, first of all? Why do we want to do this? Well, first of all, there is a shortage of appropriately skilled people. But actually, we're being reasonably selfish as well. We want to get good people on board. And after all, we need to get good people on board to make money. And that's what we're about. So, unashamedly, reasonably selfish. What's also important is who supports what we do. And this is a snapshot of our organization. First of all, we have our CEO. Here we have product development and manufacturing, finance, and sales. And the 2 guys that are right behind this and give us total support are the 2 directors that look after product development and manufacturing. And it's really important to have that support from the top. What's our vision? Is to develop a new generation of people to ensure that we have the specialist skills, craftsmanship, expertise to evolve and maintain our competitive edge. It's really important to have that vision statement up front. So, come back to the 4 initiatives. I'm going to go through these in turn and tell you exactly what we do. So first of all, working with schools, we've got a fantastic person called Bal Chota. He's a STEM ambassador, and he goes out and he talks to students and young people in schools, and he gets through an amazing amount. He gets through 24 schools per annum. He actually goes out there and talks to them. He's greatly assisted by the graduates, and I told you it all links through, and that's part of their development as well, and we'll touch upon that later. But that's going out and telling them about engineering. Secondly, we have some more experienced engineers working with the engineering education scheme. Basically, that's a scheme in schools where a group of young people, typically 16 to 18-year-olds, do a project and enter a national competition. We help them choose a project, and we support them with some materials, and we mentor them through that. It does involve some time from my or our staff, typically 100 hours per project, but it gets these folks enthused in engineering. We also support small piece trust events. These are 2-3 day events where 14 to 16-year-old school kids come along to a venue, usually in a university, and I send 3 or 4 people, usually graduates, and again you can see the link, to go and help them with a project. It's a design, a make, and an evaluate project. So these staff from Aston Martin go along, help them do that, and these kids come out just knowing so much more about engineering, and they get enthused, etc. But it's also really important for the graduates, for their development, and help them to grow and gain professional accreditation. The other thing is work placements for 14 to 18-year-olds. Each year in our company, we take in between 70 and 100 young people for maybe one week or 2 weeks. And first thing they do is health and safety. Second thing they do, if they're in my area, is they come and they have a meeting with me. And I tell them a few things. I tell them, give them an objective that I want them to achieve by the end of the week, and then come and present to me. And typically that can be, tell me what the essence of Aston Martin is, for example. But some other things I tell them they're in a workplace. I tell them it's dangerous. I tell them it's not a democracy, and they got to do what they're told. Okay, and that's really important, and they get a lot from that. And then finally, with my other hat on, I'm the chair of the rugby area, IMECE. And a couple of years ago, in organising events or talks, I sent out all the information to schools to try and encourage young people to come along to those talks. And I think I started to do that because I realised that my children, who were 15 years old at the time, actually found them quite interesting. But I struggled to get people to come along to our events. So I said, okay, let's go to them. And 50% of our events this year we've taken to schools. And we've targeted some of the talks that might be more appropriate for schools. And we've got turnouts of 100 people or so. And that's really worked. The next step is to get schools to go to other schools for events, because what I've found is that they will go to events in their own schools, but they won't go to other schools. So that's my challenge next year, to get them to go to schools that are not their own. I found that really useful. And from that, we at Aston Martin have picked up young people who want to come on work experience. And I'm, fingers crossed, don't know what the hit rate will be, but they'll come along and potentially do internships and maybe join us in the future. Right, manufacturing apprentices. We've been running this since 2006. We've got an annual intake of circa 12, and our retention rate is phenomenally high. It's running at 98%. And basically, it's a typical 4-year apprenticeship, going through your induction, core skills, integration, and competence. Nothing new. It's what everybody does. I think it's worthwhile taking on board some comments. Please read them. For Nick, what comes out of that is he's incredibly proud of doing what he's doing, and he's got such a feeling of being part of the family. And secondly, with Dan, he seized the opportunity of being in the company, saw where he could go, took that step further, went and got a degree, and now he's working as a manufacturing engineer, really enjoying himself and contributing very valuable, input to the business. This is a recent initiative, and it comes from recognising a shortage of a particular skill set, and it's development trim engineers. We still take leather and we sew it on sewing machines, and we reasonably mass produce it in cars and take it out there. But we found that we had an ageing skill set. You will forgive me for showing this photograph. There'd been no new input into the area for the last 10, 20 years. So we went out and we picked some good young people, and we've put them on a 4-year higher apprenticeship to become development trimmers. And this is basically the program they go through. First year at college, second year at day release, and the third year basically getting stuck into some interior trim development. This is how they'll record their work. I don't expect you to read it. It goes through the project objectives, the learning objectives, and the timing. And this is effectively to take a seat from a concept through to something that can be production released. And by production released, that means we can make it in volume, we can make it at the right price, and we can make it at the same quality every time. So from the third year of being with us, they're working on a project such as this, and we're actually getting value from it, and it works reasonably well. Graduate scheme, and this underpins a lot of what we do. The objective is to find and grow the best talent we can. We mentioned earlier that these kind of people can be future leaders, but they don't have to be, because some people are not just cut out to be leaders. They're cut out to be really, really good at what they do. And I think it's really important to recognise that as well. Annual intake of between 8 and 16, and they're not just in engineering. We take them across all the other functions in the business. Selection process is quite arduous, and from the applications over the last 3 years of those numbers, we take about 10% of them through to assessment centre. And what's really important is that the director gets involved. in shortlisting them, and the chief engineers and senior managers get involved in selecting them at the assessment centre. I go along and I pick them. It'll be a long time before they're sufficiently high standard to be able to work for me, but it's important that I get the people I need. Retention statistics, reasonably high for graduates. When I was a student apprentice, only 10% of us, survived the first 5 years, or stayed for the first 5 years, went on. So very happy with this. This is important because our graduate scheme, we put forward an idea to give them a voluntary role to help in schools. And we'll now send those graduates along with Balchota into schools, and as part of their development role. And you know what? It's young people talking to young people, and it means so much more. So what they're doing now, one of my guys, he is now responsible for emissions from minus 30 degrees to plus 40 degrees. He goes to some exotic places and some horrible places. This guy has a fantastic job. He's in charge of engine development. He looks after performance, economy and durability. He was in charge of my engine development team working with Cosworth in Northampton, delivering a 750 horsepower engine. He was also in charge of some other concepts working at Ilmore, delivering performance engines. So we do work with Northamptonshire. And finally, they're quite a happy bunch, and they are our future. Okay, thank you very much.